My parents took most of my wardrobe away as punishment, and I said I didn't want the clothes back because it's obvious they're not actually mine. My parents had this weird thing where they thought taking away my stuff was the ultimate punishment for everything. Bad grades, no phone, forgot to do dishes, no car. But this time, they went way too far. I came home from school on a Friday, and my mom was standing in my room with like 3 garbage bags full of my clothes. She had this smug look on her face and told me that since I couldn't keep my room clean, I obviously didn't deserve to have nice things. The punishment was that I could only have 3 outfits for the next month. Here's the thing though, most of those clothes weren't even bought by them. I had a part-time job at this pizza place since I was 15, and I'd been buying my own clothes for over a year. I had receipts in my desk drawer for probably 70% of what was in those bags. But when I tried to tell my mom this, she just rolled her eyes and said that since I lived under their roof, everything belonged to them. That weekend was torture. I had to wear the same jeans and hoodie everywhere because the only other clothes I had left were pajamas and this weird formal outfit that my grandma bought me that didn't even fit right. My friends kept asking why I looked like a homeless person, and I was too embarrassed to tell them the truth. Monday morning comes, and I'm getting ready for school in the same gross hoodie when my mom starts lecturing me again about responsibility and how this was all a learning experience. That's when something just clicked in my brain. I looked at her and said, "You know what? Keep the clothes. I obviously don't need them back since they're not actually mine anyway." She got this confused look and asked what I meant. So I walked over to my desk, pulled out this manila folder where I kept all my receipts and dumped it on my bed. I started separating them into piles. Clothes I bought, clothes they bought, shoes I bought, whatever. The pile of stuff I bought was way bigger. "Since everything in this house belongs to you guys," I said, "I guess I should return all the stuff. That's actually mine. I'll need cash though, since I used my own money." I started adding up the receipts with my phone calculator. It came to like 460. My mom's face went from smug to panic mode real quick. She tried to backtrack and say, that's not what she meant, but I wasn't having it. I told her that if she wanted to play the everything belongs to us game, then she needed to buy back my stuff at full price since I clearly didn't own anything. My dad came in because he heard us arguing, and when I explained the situation and showed him the receipts, he just started laughing. Not like a mean laugh, but like he couldn't believe how stupid the whole thing was. He looked at my mom and said, "Beth, just give him his clothes back." But here's where it gets good. I told them I didn't want the clothes back anymore. I said that since they made it clear the stuff wasn't mine, I didn't feel comfortable wearing things that belonged to someone else. I asked them to donate everything to charity, since it was obviously their property to do whatever they wanted with. My mom tried to argue that I was being ridiculous, but my dad was still chuckling and told her she made her bed. He went to his wallet and counted out $240, which was what my receipts showed they had actually paid for. He handed it to me and said I could use it for new clothes. The best part was watching my mom realize she was going to have to explain to people why her 16-year-old son suddenly had no clothes. My aunt came over that weekend and asked why I was wearing the same outfit I had on 3 days earlier. My mom had to admit what happened, and my aunt just stared at her like she was insane. I used the money my dad gave me, plus some of my own savings, to buy a completely new wardrobe. It actually ended up being better than my old clothes, because I was more careful about what I picked. My parents took most of my wardrobe away as punishment, and I said I didn't want the clothes back, because it was obvious they weren't actually mine. My parents had this weird belief that taking away my stuff was the ultimate punishment for everything. Bad grades? No clothes. Forgot to do dishes? No clothes. No phone? No car? No clothes. But this time, they went way too far. I came home from school on a Friday, and my mom was standing in my room holding 3 garbage bags full of my clothes. She had this smug look on her face and told me that since I couldn't keep my room clean, I obviously didn't deserve to have nice things. The punishment was that I could only have 3 outfits for the next month. Here's the kicker. Most of those clothes weren't even bought by them. I had a part-time job at the pizza place since I was 15, and I'd been buying my own clothes. For over a year, I had stacks of receipts in my desk drawer, proving that about 70% of what was in those bags was paid for by me. When I tried telling my mom this, she just rolled her eyes and said, "Since you live under our roof, everything belongs to us." That weekend was torture. I was stuck wearing the same pair of jeans and hoodie everywhere because the only other clothes left were pajamas and a weird formal outfit my grandma had bought me that didn't even fit right. My friends started asking why I looked like a homeless person, and I was too embarrassed to explain. Monday morning came, and I was getting ready for school in the same gross hoodie when my mom began lecturing me about responsibility and how this was all a learning experience. That's when something clicked in me. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You know what? Keep the clothes. I don't want them back since they obviously aren't mine." She gave me a confused look and asked what I meant. I walked over to my desk, pulled out a manila folder filled with all my receipts, and dumped it on my bed. I started sorting them into piles. Clothes I bought, clothes they bought, shoes I bought, whatever. The pile of stuff I bought was way bigger. "If everything in this house belongs to you," I said, "then I guess I should return all the stuff. That's actually mine. I'll need cash, though, since I paid for it myself." Using my phone calculator, I added it all up. About $460. My mom's smug face shifted to panic mode instantly. She tried backtracking, but I wasn't having it. I told her if she wanted to play the everything belongs to us game, then she needed to buy back my stuff at full price because I clearly didn't own anything. My dad wandered in after hearing the argument. When I explained the situation and showed him the receipts, he burst out laughing, not cruelly, just at the absurdity of it all. He looked at my mom and said, "Beth, just give him his clothes back." But here's what's really funny. I told them again that I didn't want the clothes back anymore. Since they made it so clear the stuff wasn't mine, I didn't feel comfortable wearing things that belonged to someone else. I told them to donate everything to charity. It was obviously their property to do whatever they wanted. My mom argued I was being ridiculous. Dad just chuckled and said, "You made your bed." He went to his wallet, counted out $240, the amount they had actually spent on my clothes from the receipts, and handed it to me. "Buy yourself some new clothes." The best part? Watching my mom realize she was going to have to explain why. Her 16-year-old son suddenly had no clothes. That weekend, my aunt visited and asked why I was wearing the same shirt I had on 3 days ago. Mom had to admit what happened, and my aunt just stared at her like she was insane. I used the money from my dad, plus my own savings, to buy a completely new wardrobe. It ended up better than my old clothes because I was more thoughtful about what I picked. Classic pieces, good fits, and styles I actually liked. This whole mess taught me something valuable. Ownership isn't just about possession. It's about respect. When someone makes your things, or your life, feel less yours, sometimes the best response is to walk away and claim your own path. Story 2. A stranger at the bus stop said, "Your wife's at the motel every Tuesday, then vanished." I said, "Thanks." When I showed up Tuesday and found her book club was actually 6 affairs, the stranger became my divorce witness. 38 male was waiting for the 7:15 bus to work last Monday morning when this woman walked up to me. Mid-50s maybe, professional looking, wearing one of those long wool coats. She stood there for like 30 seconds before saying, "Your wife's at the Riverside Motel every Tuesday afternoon, room 204, 5 p.m. Then she just walked away, got into a silver sedan, and drove off. I stood there holding my coffee like an idiot. My wife Natalie, 36, has been going to her book club every Tuesday for the past year. Said it was at her friend Melissa's house. They were supposedly reading literary fiction and drinking wine. The rational part of my brain said, ignore it. Some random woman at a bus stop? Could be anyone. Could be crazy. Could be mistaken identity. But something about how specific she was. Room 204, 5 p.m. Those aren't details you make up. So, Tuesday rolled around. Natalie kissed me goodbye at lunch. Said she'd made her famous spinach dip for book club. I watched her drive away in her blue Honda, then called in sick to work. The Riverside Motel is one of those places that rents by the hour, but tries to look respectable. You know the type. I parked across the street at 1:45 p.m. and waited. 2:07 p.m. Natalie's Honda pulls in. She parks, goes to room 204, doesn't even stop at the office. She has a key. 29 p.m. A white BMW pulls up. Out steps Bradley, her co-worker from the marketing firm. The one she said was such a bore at office parties. 230 m. A pickup truck. Gary, our neighbor's landscaper. The one who's been doing our yard. For 3 years. A Tesla. Dr. Morrison, our go-damn dentist. I've been going to him for 5 years. Another sedan. Jeremy, her personal trainer from the gym. A motorcycle. Couldn't see the face through the helmet, but the bike looked familiar. An Uber dropped someone off. Mitchell, her ex from college, who randomly moved back to town last year. 6 men in the span of an hour, all walking into room 204 like they owned the place. I sat in my car for another hour taking photos with my phone. Around 400 p.m., they started filtering out one by one, spaced about 10 minutes apart. Natalie left last at 4:58 p.m. Hair slightly messed up, despite obviously trying to fix it. When she got home that evening, she was all smiles. Book club was amazing. We're reading this incredible novel about female empowerment. You'd hate it. She laughed and kissed my cheek. Made dinner like nothing happened. Asked about my day at work. I said it was fine, boring, the usual. I've spent the last 5 days going through finances, finding a lawyer, and trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do with this information. But first, I need to find that woman from the bus stop, because whoever she is, she knew, and I need to know why she told me. We'll update when I know more. Update 1. Well, the last 2 weeks have been educational. First things first, I found bus stop lady. Turns out she's Denise, the wife of Mitchell, Natalie's ex from college. She'd been following her husband after getting suspicious about his Tuesday client meetings. When she figured out what was happening, at the motel, she started doing some digging, found out about the others, found out about me, decided I deserved to know. I wasn't going to say anything, she told me over coffee. But then I saw you at that bus stop looking so normal, so unaware, and I thought about how I wished someone had told me sooner. Denise had photos, videos. She'd been documenting everything for her own divorce. She agreed to share them with my lawyer and testify if needed. Now, about that motel room situation, because I know you're all wondering, WTF was going on in there. I wondered too. So, Tuesday rolled around again, and this time, I did something probably stupid but necessary. I booked room 203 right next door. The walls in that place are thin. And what I heard, well, it wasn't what I expected. They were playing D&D. You not. My wife was running a goddamn Dungeons & Dragons campaign for her 6 affair. Partners. I could hear her doing voices, rolling dice, describing dragon attacks, the whole 9 yards. But between the dragon slaying and treasure hunting, there were other activities. Lots of other activities. Apparently, she'd created this whole fantasy world where she was some sort of queen, and they were all her knights or whatever. The role-playing extended beyond the game, if you catch my drift. I recorded everything. 3 hours of the wildest mix of nerdy game talk and sounds I never wanted to hear my wife make. My lawyer said it was admissible in our state since I was a legal occupant of the neighboring room. When I got home that night, Natalie was in the kitchen making her post-book club smoothie. I watched her hum while she chopped fruit, completely oblivious. "How was book club?" I asked. "Oh, fantastic. We had such a deep discussion about character development. Really intellectually stimulating." I almost laughed. Almost. Filed for divorce the next morning. Had her served at work Friday afternoon. The papers were delivered right in front of Bradley. Her Tuesday afternoon night. The look on both their faces was chef's kiss. But here's where Natalie's entitlement really started to shine. She came home furious, not ashamed. Not apologetic. Furious. "How dare you embarrass me at work like that? Do you have any idea how this looks?" I just stared at her. How it looks. Natalie, you've been cheating on me with 6 different men. It's not cheating. She actually stamped, her foot like a toddler. It's a creative outlet, a safe space for adult role play. You'd never understand because you have no imagination. You're having sex with 6 men every Tuesday. It's part of the narrative. God, you're so vanilla. This is why I needed this. You never want to try anything new. You've never once played a bard for me. I'm not making this up. She legitimately tried to argue that her Tuesday motel orgies were my fault because I wouldn't roleplay her weird fantasy scenarios. She then demanded I move out immediately because the DM needs her space to create. When I laughed and said no, she threatened to call the police and claim I was abusive. I have recordings, Natalie. 3 hours of recordings. Her face went white. You what? Room 203. Thin walls. Really thin walls. That's when she started the bargaining. Then the tears. Then the anger again. Then more bargaining. It was like watching someone speedrun the stages of grief. But the entitlement didn't stop there. Oh no. She sent me a formal list of demands for the divorce. 1, the house because it's where I host game night. 2, alimony to maintain her creative lifestyle. 3, half my 401k. 4, the good car. 5, a written apology for violating her privacy. 6, an NDA about her private creative group. 7, shared custody of our dog. We don't have a dog. My lawyer actually laughed when he read it, said it was the most delusional list he'd seen in 30 years of practice. But wait, it gets worse. She started a social media campaign, posted about how I was stifling her creativity and shaming her for having hobbies. Her mom called me screaming about how I was destroying her daughter's artistic expression. Then the other wives started finding out. Denise had been busy. Dr. Morrison's wife showed up at his practice and threw his diplomas out the window. Bradley's fiancé canneled their wedding. Gary's wife changed the locks and spray-painted cheater on his truck. Jeremy's boyfriend. Yeah, apparently Jeremy was exploring. Dumped him via Instagram story. The motorcycle guy turned out to be Natalie's cousin, and his wife set his bike on fire. The whole thing became this massive chain reaction of divorces and breakups. The local motel actually had to put out a statement, distancing themselves from the Tuesday Club as people started calling it. But Natalie, still convinced she did nothing wrong, still insisting this was all about creative expression and found family and pushing boundaries in a safe space. She's currently staying with her mother, who's enabling the hell out of her. Sent me 12 emails yesterday about how I'm crushing her spirit and punishing her for being different. Different. That's one word for it. Court date is in 3 weeks. Denise and 3 other wives are all testifying. The motel manager is providing security footage. My lawyer says it's the most slam dunk case he's ever seen. I'll update after court. This is far from over. Final update. Court was an experience. Natalie showed up in a full Renaissance fair costume. I'm talking corset, flowing skirts, a goddamn tiara. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. She'd also brought her character sheets as evidence. Tried to argue that the entire Tuesday arrangement was a performance art piece exploring the boundaries of modern relationships through medieval fantasy paradigms. She actually said that out loud to a judge. The judge, a woman in her 60s who looked like she'd seen everything, just stared at Natalie over her glasses. Ma'am, are you trying to tell me that adultery is performance art? It's not adultery. It's collaborative storytelling with intimate elements. Even her own lawyer looked done at that point. Denise testified first, brought photos, videos, timestamps. The other wives followed. The motel manager brought security footage showing all 7 of them entering the room. My recordings were played privately, thank God. But the real kicker, remember how I mentioned the motorcycle guy was her cousin? Well, turns out that little detail made things very interesting. His wife didn't just testify about the affair. She revealed that Natalie had been bragging about her kingdom in family group chats. Family group chats. She'd been sending her cousins and siblings updates about her quests and noble knights. Everyone thought she was just really into some online. Game until cousin's wife connected the dots and realized the cigarette the bold Natalie kept mentioning was her actual husband. The texts were submitted as evidence. Choice quotes include, "Conquered another realm today. The Queen remains undefeated. My knights fought valiantly for my favor. Bradley the Persistent earned extra rewards. Emergency quest meeting needed Tuesday. The kingdom has urgent needs." Her family was there in court reading these. Her dad walked out. Her sister started crying. Her mum just kept muttering its creative expression over and over like a broken record. Then came Natalie's turn to speak. And holy hell, the entitlement. She accused me of emotional terrorism for exposing her found family. Said I was threatened by her power and couldn't handle a woman with imagination. Claimed the motel was her sacred creative space and I'd violated the sanctity of artistic expression. She demanded full ownership of the house as compensation for creative damages. Lifetime alimony because I'd ruined her reputation in the creative community. A public apology in the newspaper. Damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Custody of the dog we still don't have, she insisted. We'd agreed to get one. Her grandmother's ringback. We pawned it 2 years ago together for car repairs. The judge looked at my lawyer. My lawyer shrugged. The judge looked at her lawyer. Her lawyer was checking his phone, probably looking for new jobs. The ruling was swift. Divorce granted on grounds of adultery, no alimony. At fault state, baby. House to be sold. Proceeds split after mortgage paid. She keeps her car. I keep mine. She pays my legal. Fees. Restraining order granted. Oh yeah, she'd started showing up at my work in costume. But Natalie wasn't done. As we're leaving court, she stands up and yells, "You'll regret this. My knights will avenge their queen." Security had to escort her out. The aftermath was spectacular. The Tuesday Club completely imploded. Dr. Morrison lost his practice. Bradley got fired when more co-workers came forward about his inappropriate fantasy talk at work. Gary's landscaping business tanked. Jeremy moved to another state. Mitchell's still dealing with his divorce. The cousin man, that whole family situation is destroyed. Natalie tried to start a GoFundMe for artists persecuted for unconventional expression. It raised $37 from her mom. She's been posting increasingly unhinged things on social media. Created a whole web series about a queen in exile. Posted videos of herself doing monologues about small-minded peasants who fear powerful women. Started a podcast called The Dungeon Master's Lament that has 3 subscribers. Last week, she sent me a formal invitation to witness her triumphant return to the kingdom. It was for a LAR event in the park. I didn't go, but apparently she showed up, declared herself queen of the playground, and tried to knight random joggers. Someone called the cops. Her mom finally stopped enabling her after that. Told her to get therapy and a job. As for me, I'm doing okay. Therapy helps. Sold the house, got a nice apartment downtown, joined a bowling league, 0 roleplay involved, started dating a nice woman from work who thinks D&D is that game with the weird dice, and that's perfectly fine with me. Denise and I are friends. Now, we have coffee sometimes and laugh about the absolute insanity of it all. She's doing great too. Got the house, the BMW, and Mitchell's 401k, and her divorce. The motel put up a plaque in room 204, home of the infamous Tuesday Club. They've turned it into a weird tourist attraction. People actually book it for bachelor parties now. Capitalism, am I right? And that bus stop. I still take the 7:15 every morning. Sometimes I see other regulars, and we nod. That knowing nod of people who witnessed absolutely batshit drama go down. There's a weird comfort in that. Oh, and Natalie's latest. She sent me a bill for emotional labor and creative consulting fees for the stories I stole from her life. My lawyer says to keep it for the harassment file. Some people never learn. But hey, at least I know what she's doing on Tuesdays now. Applying for jobs, hopefully. Thanks for following this wild ride, Reddit. Remember, if a stranger at a bus stop gives you oddly specific information about your spouse, maybe listen. And if your partner says they're at book club, maybe ask which book. Stay sane out there.